Everybody, this is Tina with Rehatch Designs, and I'm here today starting our how to do the little golden books. I have had several people, ask me about this, even though I do have another tutorial out there, but I'm going to go ahead and do it again and go through the steps on how I do my little golden books. Just so that you can follow along with me if you want to. Anyway, I'm going to show you this one real quick. I hope everybody's doing well and having a good day, and hope you get some time to start making some of your Christmas stuff. I know it seems kind of early, but boy, I'll tell you, last year I don't think I started till, I don't know, I think it was the second week in November, and boy, I just got slammed. I just wound up, I was working, I think, Christmas Eve finishing. Anyway, this is one, I just want to give you an idea of what we're going to make and the process that we're going to go through. We will do a tassel, and this is a pretty easy tassel, and we'll go talk about that. And I'm also going to show you how to do some beads. We're going to do the buttons on the back. I'll show you how to do that, okay? I make my little golden books to where they are the actual size of the pages. I don't cut the pages down or fold them. So we will go through on how I do that, and how I reinforce this so it is stronger, and how I reinforce the pages. Let's see. Basically, this is just one that I did, and just kind of show you the process of how I put it all together and the kind of things I put in it, just to give you a heads up. Oh, see, look, that charm looks like it pulled that off. I'll have to fix that. I do put lace on all my pages, and I do that for a couple reasons. To reinforce the page, and also if you're going through the story, you'll be able just to go ahead. Here's another one that's caught on there. Just flip through, okay? But anyway, that's kind of what we're going to make. And it's got some little paper clips up there. We'll do those too. But anyway, that's what we're going to do. And the supplies that you will need to do that. Of course, any kind of ribbons that you think you might want to use when we do the tassel, or any kind of beads or anything like that. So those are kind of little extras. We are going to sew the signatures, so you will need something to sew with. I use my wax linen thread. I bought this big thing on Amazon. I don't have the packaging, but I usually use this kind of off-white color pretty consistently when I do my golden books. So, it pays to get that. If not, you can always get like upholstery thread, or this is some hemp thread here, and then pull it through some wax. I have some wax here, and it would probably do the same thing. I got this at Hobby Lobby. Actually haven't used it for that yet, but I think it would work just fine. The wax helps you, pull it through, and also it helps keep things tight. You'll need some sort of a pokey tool or something to work with. You will need your cutting tools that you would normally do for your papers and things like that. Of course, first you need a book, a little golden book. I tend to like to buy the vintage ones. I mean the very vintage ones, and I'll show you those. They're kind of like this, and so they're not always in great shape, but this one's actually in pretty good shape. So, on these, you have to treat them a little bit differently. This one's really old, so this one is, I'll show you, is a the signatures are gonna be different on this. These really, really old ones, like this one's probably, it says 1958. So these are a little bit different. I am not gonna go through the whole process on this, but I am gonna take one apart and show you how they're different and what you would need to do with that, okay? But if you do get the vintage ones, like I do, you do have to treat them a little bit different, okay? This one is vintage. It's 1976, but it's going to be pretty much the same as the newer ones. And this one is probably, let's see, 1988. So it's not quite as old, but they're going to be put together pretty much the same. So depending upon, you know, how old you get it, you would do things a little different. What I use is, I have some chipboard, and I do not know how heavy this is, but it's probably about the thickness of 2 cereal box. You know, if you glued them together, not one, but 2 glued together. So if you don't have any chipboard, you can use that. I have this. I've had it forever. So I honestly couldn't tell you what it is, but I could. It's about 2 cereal boxes. One would be probably too flimsy. I would do 2. Okay, glue them together, and that'll be the right thickness. I'm going to use some Tyvek, and that is just a material that is kind of a nylon material, nylon cotton, and it's very, very strong. I'm going to use that to reinforce it. You can use duct tape. You can use athletic tape, not the micropore, but the cotton tape. You can use material. And a lot of times too, I haven't even used this because you're going to be using material too, so it makes it structurally put together. I also use just some a lighter weight cardstock, and this is a 65-pound cardstock that I had. Mainly I use just scraps that I have, but I use that on the sides. I don't use the chipboard to reinforce it because it makes it too bulky on the side. But I mean, I use scraps most of the time, but that's about the weight that we're going to need. I also, you know, put material on the side decoratively, and it also helps hold the spine together. So any kind of cotton material that you want to use. I also help reinforce the spine, and I use just any kind of twine or rope that is a cotton base, not a nylon, because it needs to absorb the glue. And the glue that you need, a white glue, I'm going to use tacky glue for the cover the way I do it, okay, because it helps reinforce it. And I'm going to be using this twine. This is a little thinner. You could definitely use that also. Basically, all you're going to be doing is using this to fill in the crevice. And I'm not sure which one's going to work better. You could use a cotton rope. I mean, I could use this even, could work. I think this is a little thin though. I'm going to try it, but we'll see. But anything that is a natural fiber, so it will absorb the white glue. And the reason I don't use my 3-in-1 or my fabric tack is because it doesn't work as well on this. You can use it to glue the other parts down, but as far as reinforcing the spine so we don't have to cut the pages, I like to use the tacky glue, or you could use any other, you know, white glue. Anyway, so we'll use that. You need something to measure with, and if you're going to put some trim on there, whatever trim you're going to use, not in this session, but in the other ones, you will need whatever kind of papers you're going to put in there, whether it be scrapbook paper, if you're going to do, you know, different dyed papers, if you're going to do, you know, like parts of other books and things that you want to put in there. you know, that's what you need to think about, the type of papers you would want to put in there. Any, as you saw in the other one, like any envelopes or any, you know, bags or anything like that that you think you might want to put in there, okay? But for today, what we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and we are going to work on taking our book apart and then adding a new spine, okay? Because you can't use this spine, obviously, and we have to take it apart. And what a lot of people do when they do this is they will cut off this portion right here. And what happens then is that you end up with your pages, when you put them in there, you have to fold them over for them to fit. Also, too, some people, the way they do it is that they'll put the pages in there to where, you know, they're not in order because of the way they put their signatures in. I like to keep them in order, and I like to keep them intact. That's just how I do it. I'm not saying other people are doing it wrong, but that's just the way that this is going to end up. So the first thing I do is I take something, I usually use this thing. This is my Cricut tool, and I will go in and I try and find the staples, and they're all held with these staples. Sometimes you'll do it and it'll be super easy, sometimes hard. You can peel off this part if you want to. I don't always mess with that. I just kind of find the staple in there, and I can kind of see it, okay? And I'm trying to get it to lift up the ends of it. Oh, and I always use my pliers on this. You don't have to, but I just think it's easier. These staples are not just regular, you know, they're the heavy duty kind. And you can see this is why I don't really even bother taking the paper up, because it's just like an extra step I don't know that you necessarily need. So, and then I just kind of see I've straightened it out like that. Okay, so then I get on the other side. I may try and push that up a little bit. Oops, it's not going. Bending. And then I'll pull this up, and this helps get it, it just kind of pries it up a little, enough to where you can get your pliers in there, and then just pull it out. It should come straight out. So there you go, there's your staple. Put that in the trash because you don't want to step on that. So you do this to both sides. And you can feel the staple in there. That's why I don't necessarily, if this peels up easily, that's fine, but you know, you don't have to, because you're going to be covering right over that. You can see the staple in there, and then you just kind of get it straight so you can pull it out. And like I said, some go easy, sometimes they don't, but they're not hard to do. And then I'm just using this to pry it up enough so I can get this out with my pliers. Trying not to tear that up because we are going to use that portion of the book, okay? So right then what happens is your book will come apart, and you'll see that you've got this little bendy part right there on both sides, okay? And then you'll have your signatures in the middle, right? So you're going to take your signatures. Actually, you can just take your book apart. Let me get my thing here. Oh, I forgot, you will need a knife to cut with. You could do this with your scissors. You don't need this. But I just use it because it's easy. You're trying not, you don't want to cut the pages, okay? So that should just tear away. If you do, it's not the end of the world, but you're trying not to, okay? And you will trim this off and make it even. See where that extra paper is? Don't cut the cardboard part, just any extra paper. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you're just gonna trim it up a little just to make it easier to work with, really. Okay, so keep those aside. I just want to show you the 2 signatures. These are always made with 2 signatures except for the really old books. And that's why I'm going to show you how to do that later. But anyway, so what'll happen is they're usually 12 pages and you'll have 2 signatures in there, and you can see where the 2 signatures are. And you want to kind of, if you notice, this is page 1 and this is page 6. So these are going to go in your book like that, okay? So there'll be 3, full sheets, but 6 pages, okay? So anyway, what I do at this time, because I don't know, I'm not real familiar with all the stories, is this is when I go in and with pencil, I'll put the numbers of just on one. I'll just do 1, 2, 3, and that's it. Okay, so here's my other one, right? And I'm going to do so there's 6 pages, but front and back there'll be a total of 12. Okay, so there you go. Those are your 2 signatures. I just keep them there. If they get out of whack, then that's okay. You've got them numbered. That's why I do that. Okay, so here's our 2 covers, front and back. And what we're going to do with that is we are going to kind of clean it up a little, get the little loose pieces of paper. Okay. Get that off. All right. Now, this is what I do a little bit differently, and I cannot remember, because I've been doing it for years now, who I saw do this. And if I can remember, and she had got it from somebody else, but I do it kind of a combination of different ones that I've seen, and I've tried different ways to do this, but it's up to you how you want to do it. But I personally like this just because I think it really makes it very sturdy. But anyway, I'm going to get my tacky glue out, and then I'm going to get my rope, and what you're going to see, or twine, and I am going to put this in there. And honestly, guys, the size that I use depends totally on the book. Different books have a bigger indentation than others. Sometimes the front has a bigger one than the back, okay? And all I'm trying to do is kind of reinforce this little gap here, okay? You could totally skip this part. And I have before, and it worked out pretty good. But all I'm going to say is I do it just because I like what it does in the end. I think it makes it very reinforced and stiff, because I've done it with just the paper on the side, and it's still bent. It bends sometimes. You're trying to get rid of that bendy part. You're trying to make this flat, okay? And I've seen people where they cut this off and they make an extension, or they put chipboard across the back, underneath, and basically they just add on there, and then they do it that way. I mean, I've seen several different ways. I've seen a lot of people where they just take the paper and they'll put chipboard on here, heavier chipboard, but then it has a big bump. That's why I don't like doing it that way. So, but anyway, you just kind of have to figure out what works for you. But this is what I do. I just take my glue, my tacky glue, and I just put a glob right down here, and I don't worry about it. Oh wait, I should have cut my paper first. I think I had some strips already cut, but anyway, I'll go ahead and cut this. I am just going to cut this. What is this here? This is going to be the one thing about little golden books, they're a really weird size. They're like right under 8 inches. So I'm going to do this just a tiny bit below 8 inches. Okay, and I'm just going to make it by 1 inch, I think. I don't know. Well, let me see. Because when I do this, I don't want to cover that. So I'm going to make it about a half of an inch. So I'm going to make this 8 by 1/2 inch. Let me just do this. I should have done this first, but I usually just use scraps, like I said, so I'm going to do that about a 1/2 inch, or maybe 3/4. I don't know. Let's see, 1 inch. I have got to get me a new one. 1, 2, 3. It's 1.5. I'm going to do it 3/4, I think. Or maybe that's a half. I can't even tell. It's a half. All right. And I'm going to need 2 pieces that size, right? Oh, do it this way, it'd be a lot easier. And then it doesn't really matter if they're exact because they're going to be covered up anyway, but that's what you're going to do there. Okay, and then I'm just going to go ahead and mark these and cut them rather than put them in my cutter just for that little piece. When I do mine, I don't like to cover the title. That's another reason why I like to keep my books whole. I like to, you know, sometimes you can't help it. Sometimes that will happen, but I try not to if I can help it. So anyway, I've got my glue in there. And see, that's one good thing about using tacky glue too. It gives you a little time. All right. So I am just taking this and I am smishing this little rope right in that little slot right there. And there's going to be a lot of extra glue, but I want my string kind of stuck in there. And it's going to stick out a little bit, but it will go in there because you have like a little slot. Okay. And all I'm going to do is kind of smush it in there. And then I'll have glue on both sides, get the little extra glue off. Let me get a wipe over here. All right. I'm going to cut that. And you don't want it to stick out, so make sure you cut it to where it's inside the book. Okay. Now what I'm going to do, I'm pushing that in there as much as I can. And that's where making sure the string is saturated with glue helps, okay? And then I'll put a little bit more glue on top, just a tiny bit, just to make sure that there's plenty of glue, because that glue is going to reinforce the spine when it dries. And having that string in there fills that gap in so it doesn't bend, okay? And then I take my cardstock that I just cut and I put it right over that. Okay, we've got a little bit of room there. And it's basically just acting like a Band-Aid, okay? Just to kind of go over that. And then I push down even more, because at this point you're not pulling the string up when you push, okay? I'm pushing down, taking the excess glue up. Okay. And I'm going to do that on the other side. And it's really easy, but that little piece of string, and let me get my little thing here. That little piece of string is going to blend into that. And once you put your material over it, you won't see it. But what it does is it kind of fills in that space so that when it dries, it makes it very sturdy and it won't bend. Now, I have done it where I've just put the glue in and put the, you know, cardstock on top, and it works okay, but I think it's a little bit flimsier, and that's why I do this. Anyway, let me do this one. It's a brand new glue. It should come out pretty easily, so. All right, let me get it all in there. So you want to fill it in the glue first to make sure there's glue in there. And a lot of people, what they do is they do this and then they just put this on top. And, you know, that's fine. I'm not having an issue with that. I just say that this one little extra step, I think, makes it a little bit sturdier, okay? To where that doesn't bend on you later, okay? I just think what it does is it gives it a little, it fills it in and it gives it a little bit more sturdiness. Okay, so then I'm going to put a little extra glue. Oh my gosh. Yeah, here we go. And, you know, don't be afraid to get that string saturated. And this is why you need the cotton type glue, because you need it to be able to be absorbed, okay? And then I just put this on top, and like I said, it's just, all it is there is like a band-aid over this. It's going to help reinforce it along with the rope or string or whatever you're using. And like I said, if you don't have something that fits in there good as far as the size of the string, you can double it and put it in there and it works fine. I've done it many times. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and smush that down there. I want to get it in there nice and tight if I can get it. All right. And make sure I cut that little white piece off. Okay, now normally at this point, what I do is I always let this dry overnight. And I do that because you don't want to be bending this and stuff like that, because you want it to, you know, be strong enough to work with so you can get to the next point. But because we're, you know, doing this as a, you know, a video, I'm not gonna do that. But I normally just, most of the time when I'm doing little golden books, I don't usually just do one. I do, like, you know, 4 at a time probably. And when I'm doing that, I usually just make a bunch of these covers and then I let them sit out overnight. And overnight they'll be plenty dry. So, but for our purposes, we're going to go ahead and keep working. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do, I'm just going to put these aside for a second, and then we will work on the next part. We are going to go ahead and we are going to make our spine. Now, I make my books 2 signatures, and I do that mainly because I'm going to insert each of these pages. This is going to go in one signature, and this is going to go in the other signature, okay? I have made them 3 signatures, but then it gets a little bit more complicated as far as putting the book together and having the pages in order. So if I keep it 2 signatures, it keeps it nice and simple. And for that, I like to make my spine right about 2 inches, maybe 2.5, just to give it a little extra room. But honestly, let's see, how big did I do this last one? I think I did it 2 inches. Yeah, these are 2 inches, and I think that looks good. I think that size looks good. And it gives you plenty of room for each signature, and there's quite a few pages in there. I think there's something like 20 pages, or at least 15 in each signature. So I think we'll do this for 2 inches. We'll do a 2-inch spine and kind of keep it easy. 2-inch spine with 2 signatures, okay? I usually like to give like 1 inch for each. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut this 2 inches. So let's see, what am I going to use? Will it fit in here? It might work. Let's see. So I am going to cut this piece of chipboard. This is our heavy chipboard, or like I said, your cereal box times 2. Okay, so that's 2 inches wide. So that's going to be how wide our spine is. And then, again, the height of this thing is it's an odd number. So I usually just take, and they're always the same. I don't know why I don't just, like, you know, make a template. But I just normally just take it and measure it. Get that flat. Because you do want the height to be exactly the same. And the reason I use the heavier chipboard is it's basically the same. If you notice, you're trying to get to the same width as your golden book, okay? Or close to it, you know, as close as you can. So I think it's about 2 cereal boxes. You would have to try it and see. I'm just going to cut this. Okay, so now I have my spine that I'm going to use. All right, so that is going to end up going right here. Okay, so make sure that that's right. I don't want it too big. Looks like it might be a little bit taller. Nope, it's not. Okay, so measure it, make sure it's the right height. You don't want it sticking out. Okay, and the way this is going to work is this is going to go in the middle, and this is where you want to line it up on your mat if you have a grid mat, because this will help you keep it straight. All right, and then I'm going to put this there, and you want a little bit of a gap in there. You don't want it too big. And I just usually eyeball it. But the way I know it's straight is I have it lined up on my grid. Okay. And then I have, like I said, you would wait until this is dry normally, but okay. I'm just going to be careful. Okay. And then this is going to go here. And then again, I'll keep it on my grid. That way I know it's straight. It looks like it needs to be moving a little bit. Okay, so there we go. That tells me it's straight. Now, this is the part where if you want to use duct tape, you can use, oh, I just moved it. That happens all the time, so that's why it's good to use your, and I'm lining it up to the bottom, and of course you could line it up to the top too, but I have a line on the bottom that I'm lining it up, okay? This is where you can use your duct tape. You can just, if you want to. I'm going to use this because I want to make it the width that I need. And this is my Tyvek, and I'm going to take that. Again, I'm just going to kind of do it with my pencil. And I want it to be the same width as my, from here to here, okay, is where I put this white on here and there, okay? So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to cut that. Probably should I'm going to do it off to the side because I don't really want to move those books. But I'm just cutting it to the same width as I just measured. Okay? And the reason I'm doing this time with this and not the duct tape, it's just because I can make it the width that I want. If you're using duct tape, what you're going to have to do is do like a strip here and a strip there. You would have to double it. I don't know, unless they make wider duct tape, which they might. And I'm just going to do this here. And again, I'm just going to measure with my pencil. And even if it's not exact on this, it's not going to matter. This is meant to reinforce our spine, okay? And I don't always do that. Sometimes I just put the material on because it's pretty strong. But on these, I think I'm going to do that just in case. I think I'm going to start doing that more because I just think this is going to be a family heirloom. You kind of want to make sure that it's reinforced. Okay, now here, this is where you could use other types of glue if you want to. You don't have to use your tacky glue, although I will tell you, I like using tacky glue when I do the spine, just because of the fact that it gives me some time to move it around if it's you know, if it's crooked. So anyway, I'm going to do that and just take my glue and get it all over. Make sure I have plenty of glue. Okay. And I just spread it around. Make sure you have it all over. Okay, and get it right up close to the ends, not at the end because it's going to squirt out. Doesn't matter if it does though. I mean, you can clean it up pretty easy. So, oh, I just really messed up my cover. So I'll have to go back and fix that before we put it down. So anyway, that's all I'm doing with that. Again, make sure my cover's where I want it. Okay. I don't want it too far apart, but I do want a little give in there. And honestly, I don't know. I do it about maybe a little bit wider than one width of this. Now I'm going to make sure that's straight. Okay, this has to come up a tiny, tiny bit. There we go. And then it's not straight there. All right, so this one moved. I gotta move it up. And that's where these lines to me are very important when I do this, because it really does help me keep it to where it's, if it's off kilter, you'll know when you're done. And that is a little bit too far away, so I'm gonna move it in a little. Okay, I think we're good. This is tilted up a tiny bit. There we go. Okay, I think we're good. So now I'm going to just put my Tyvek on there. And it doesn't matter if it matches perfectly. And I did purposely make it a tiny bit shorter. But anyway, I'm going to put that on there like that. Now you could put the Tyvek on the inside. It doesn't really matter. You're going to be reinforcing the spine either way. I put material all the way around it, so what happens is I'm reinforcing it and covering it on the inside. So you can do it however you want to do it. And then I just take this, and the glue is going to squirt out, but it gets the glue all the way to the end. And you're just going to kind of go over it. Get all your glue in there good. Okay, and then here again, this is where I would wait for it to dry before I go to the next step, but we're not going to do that. Okay, and now I'm going to go ahead and take the excess glue off of there. And if you guys have noticed, I still have left the, and this part here, we're going to clean that up. I could have done it beforehand, but I'm still going to do it and get that sticker off. But I usually do all that at the very end because I'll put book corners. That's another thing too that I didn't have in the supply thing that's optional. I put little metal book corners on a lot of these. I don't do it on all of them, but if they're older and vintage, they're, you know, they're just chipboard, so they're gonna probably have seen better days. So that's a great way to reinforce it and have it look good. So if you want to get some of those, you can. I bought a huge amount on Amazon. I was tired of getting them in the little small packages, and for almost the same price, I got them on Amazon. I looked, I couldn't find the actual link of where I got it. I saw some others out there, but you really kind of have to look and see. Okay, so now that we've done that, the next step, let me get some of that off too. The next step that we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and put our material on our spine. Okay, and I have this Santa material, and I want to put that on there, but I like it, let's see, a tiny bit over the white part, not a lot, because I'm going to put trim on here. And when I put that trim on, it's going to cover a tiny bit of the S, but probably not very much. So I will measure this. Let's see here. Just kind of eyeballing it from here to here. And just make sure that's right. Okay, and then I'll just rip it because it usually makes it straighter. And then a lot of people just like the rough edges, and I do too. And I'm doing this in 2 sections because I don't have enough to wrap all the way around. But I will tell you that, here, I don't know if this other side's going to be better. I really don't want to overlap this Santa too much. Oh, gosh. Usually if I have a long piece, I go all the way around. So let me see. I'm not going to. I don't have enough. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and cut another piece for the inside. The same width. Okay. I might put this on the outside. Yeah, that way I can kind of wrap it better. Yeah, I think that'll look better. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, normally if I have one long piece, I just wrap it around, but I have 2, so that'll work. It'll still work. So I'm going to take this. I'm going to do the same thing. Put some glue on there. All right, and then I got too much glue, but that's okay. We can use it on the other side. Okay. Is this the one that I wanted to wrap around? I think it is. I can't remember now. I don't know. I don't know if it really matters. Okay. I think this one had another Santa underneath it closer, so I'm going to do that. And I'm going to put these 2 up here. Make sure I have enough to wrap around the bottom. Okay, so what I'm trying to do on this is I want to make sure that I don't cover too much of the S, because like I said, I like the title. If there is any extra, I always put it on this side. You know, for me, I'd rather have that hidden than the title. Put that like that. Okay, and then I'm just gonna do kind of what I did before. And if I need to come back and add a little extra glue, I do, but I wait till I'm done. And then I'm going to flip it over. Okay, and I'm being really careful with this because it's not dry all the way. I'm going to put this piece down, and this piece down, and then I'm going to put this over it, because see how our Santas are upside down? And I may just put that over it like that, or I don't know. Yeah, I think I'd rather do that. Okay. And that's something you got to work with, whatever your material is and the pattern and whatever. You just kind of have to decide how you want it. So I know that's going to go down there. Okay. Make sure I have enough glue on that. And see, the fabric also helps reinforce this. You've got the Tyvek in there, and then or whatever you're using, your duct tape or whatever. But the fabric also helps reinforce the spine. All right, I'll just put that there because I'm going to need it in a second anyway. So I'll put that down. All right, and then that is down. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put this piece, and it's only because the Santas are going up and down, so I'm going to go ahead and measure that and just kind of cut it, and it'll be in there kind of rough, but that's okay. And it's going to go, well, maybe I'll move this down. I don't want to cut that Santa in half. Well, I'm going to cut one of them in half, aren't I? Let's see. How about if we put that there? And then we'll put, this is going to be right here, I think. Let's see if that'll tear. Okay. It's kind of small to tear, so I'm going to have to cut it, which I really don't like because I honestly can tear it better than I can cut it. There we go. All right, that should fit. Yeah, okay. Little thing, but when you open the book up, you'll see the little Santas. So anyway, then I'm going to just take my glue. All right, and I'm going to do this. Make sure I have enough glue. There's like a piece sticking up right there. And then I'm just going to put this part down, get some of the loose strings off of there. Okay. So that is just going to go right here. And one thing too is your fabric always stretches, so just keep that in mind a little bit. It will move a little. It does give you a little room. Okay. So anyway, that is how you put it together. I'd go back in and just kind of go through any ends or little loose pieces that you have. Oh, it doesn't want to come out. There we go. You know, just kind of do what you need to do to fix it up. Okay, so anyway, guys, then what I do is I take my bone folder or whatever it is and go in here, and this is where, not the part where it has the string in it, but the bend of the new spine that you've made right there. You want to kind of just go in there and tuck your material in. Okay, and just make sure you got it nice. Little crease in there. That way it'll bend when you're done. And you could, you know, put papers on the outside, but part of the reason I'm using the cotton material is it helps reinforce the spine. you know, it decorates it and it helps reinforce it. So, you know, that's the thing, is you're doing two things. You're decorating it and you're helping reinforce it. So anyway, that's how that would go, okay? And I would give it a little time. I don't want to play with this too much because I haven't really let the outside dry yet. Okay, so that is what it would be like. I don't mind these little strings sticking up. I kind of like them. Okay, some people may not. I do that on purpose. That's why I tear it, but that's up to you. You could certainly cut it. Anyway, what that does is when this dries, you will see, you can't even see the little string in there, and it makes it flush. The problem with using the heavy chipboard, which I see people use to reinforce this, is that then it leaves like kind of a bump right here, and I don't necessarily like that, okay? The next thing that I do, and you certainly don't have to do this, this is just what I do, is I take my little golden book. Because they're golden books, I like to put this trim right on the edge, okay? And I usually do a different trim on the inside, and I will put that on there like that, okay? Just to kind of jazz it up a little bit, and to me it looks like a golden book then. I don't know. And I'm just going to take a little of this. I don't normally would use my other glue, but since I have this out, I'm going to see if it'll work. It may not, I don't know. But I will just put that down right there on the edge. And I will go through and clean this book up and add corner pieces, because this is an older one, okay? And I can guarantee you, see the edges? So I will do that, and I will show you how to do that next time. I don't want this to bend. But the cool thing about doing it this way, like I said, it makes a nice seamless little book, and it leaves the papers intact, and you'll see that next time, how we insert those. And I just put those on there just because, I don't know, it's just a thing I do. And usually on the inside, I'll either leave it this way, or I will put just not the gold, but another rickrack. And I'm going to let that dry first before I mess with it, okay? But just make sure that you have your little creases in there, okay? And make sure everything's down nice and flat. Let that dry overnight, and you will have the beginnings of your little golden book. It's really simple. It's not hard. And even the sewing and signatures, if you haven't done it, it's real. If you're going to start, this is probably one of the books I would do it on. Okay. So the next time, what we're going to do is, we're going to probably go ahead and get our papers together and sew in the spine. Hopefully we'll have plenty of time to do that. And then I'll also show you how to clean up the book and put the ends on. Or I may do that in the third video. The third video I may do that and then show you how to make the tassel. So we may just do the papers next time and sewing them in the signatures. I think that's probably what we'll do. And that'll be next Tuesday. So I don't remember what day that is. I have to look in here. Did I put it in my little book? It'd be the 27th, okay? And then on the 29th, we'll do the tassel and the cleaning up the book cover and that kind of thing, okay? So anyways, guys, thanks for joining me, and I hope that this helped you as far as, you know, getting started on your little golden book if you want to do those for Christmas. I think they make really cute gifts. I think it's very nostalgic and fun, and they're really not hard to make, guys. So anyway, we shall see you next time. Oh, and also, guys, I'm like 2 or 3 people away from my 1,300 subscribers, and I am doing a giveaway, and it'll be to 3 different people. You just have to be a subscriber and comment on any of my videos. One comment per video. It can be an old video, it doesn't have to be a new video, just any comment on a video, and you're entered, and you could be one of the 3 people that wins. And the only thing I'm going to say that it's going to be about Christmas. So okay, we will see you again next time. Y'all take care.